So, like, just don't be afraid to take the things you love and just follow that. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Just do your thing. Because if you love it, if you're making something that you adore, other people are going to be able to see that work and that love, and they're going to come and they're going to look at what you're creating.
Hello and welcome to the first Webcomics Shortcast. These are a shorter version of our podcast that are more controlled, less chaotic, and generally all around, in my opinion, more pleasant to listen to.
Will we try?
Today we are joined by my indentured servant, Kaz.
That's a co-host and moderator to you then. Hi there, guys. I'm Kaz.
And the unfortunate soul who happened to darken our doors, Rommie.
Hello.
How are you feeling, Rommie?
I'm feeling all right.
You sound very nervous.
Yeah, well, it's the anxiety.
Is this your first time doing something like this, Rommie? Or
Yeah, I've always wanted to do some kind of podcast thing, but I have never gotten. I've never invited myself. That's actually something we'll get into maybe later about Spiderforest. But
ooh, damn.
It's not bad. It's not bad. But
it's fine. It's just really funny the way you brought it.
We definitely have a lot of ground to cover because, just a full disclosure for those who are listening, this is actually the first time we have interviewed someone who is not usually on the Line Webtoon platform and also doesn't quite make comics in the same infinite scrolling format. I mean, it's comics all the same. It mixes in slightly different circles to all our lineup in the past, so it's interesting and we'll have a lot to learn from it. I reckon.
Yeah. Oh, I hope that I can be enlightening in some way.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, basically.
Well, I'm a self-taught artist. I've been drawing comics pretty much forever. When I was little, I used to staple comics together and just draw them in little books. So I've been drawing comics forever, and I've been writing forever. It's all self-taught, all just stuff that I was really passionate to do. But I never enjoyed one over the other. So comics just was a happy medium between the two, between writing and drawing. I was never really much of an illustrator. I like telling stories with my work. Stories are really important to me. And yeah, it just kind of naturally came about that way because I really like telling stories. I really like doing art. So comics it was.
It sounds like, I don't know what the word would be for that, but I think that just sounds like someone pulling their dreams to reality.
Yeah.
Really? Because most people go, well, I didn't go to art school, so I'm going to stop.
Yeah, no, I'm quite a dreamer.
So what's your actual educational background?
I went to university for graphic design.
Ooh, fancy.
But that's it.
High paying.
And yet I ended up in a bookstore.
Hey, that means you do what you can. I think surround yourself with potential inspirational material, research and stuff. But I think Rommie's background of graphic design is not uncommon in a lot of other people who ended up doing art as well, whether in comics or just illustrations and stuff. Yeah, so one of us. I see that, but
I'm the only one here who doesn't do art. I can't draw, so I get a lot of shit.
You do the talking. You have the fancy mic.
Oh, look at you. Why can't you be nice like her, Kat? She's nice. Right. She's nice to me.
All right. So yeah. Sorry. Should we do you have any particular experiences that kind of stood out for you that made you go, okay, I really, really, really am going to do this? Or was it always just, it's something I've always done, I might as well just keep doing it?
Like comics in particular? Or right. Soul to Call in particular?
Comics in particular.
It's just kind of something I always did, and it's kind of, not to be, what's a good word for it? Just, it's something I always made me happy. It's something that always made me happy, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just something I didn't want to give up no matter where my life goes. So, yeah, no matter what day job I do, if it never is comics, that's honestly okay with me, just because the work itself is so fulfilling. It's just something I always want to be able to do, no matter if it becomes a job or whatever.
I mean, at this point, would you consider it a job? A friend of mine told me when I started doing the podcast stuff, a job is something that makes you money. He didn't specify a certain amount of money though. So
yeah, I do call it my second job, so I do technically consider it a job. It's not paying all the bills, but you know.
Look, if it pays at least one bill, it's doing its job.
Yeah.
With Soul to Call, which is, I mean, the webcomic that we will be highlighting as well in the course of this podcast, is this your first like long-term webcomic project, or have you done some other webcomics in the past before? You've mentioned doing like all those like, you know, comics on paper, like zines, really. Which,
yeah, that was like I was like 6 and 12.
little Rommie.
Yeah, little baby Rommie. Yeah, I actually did do a couple sort of webcomics before Soul to Call. There was one I did when I was maybe, I don't know, 11, 12, that I posted on DeviantArt. Really bad.
Oh God!
Big
you went to DeviantArt.
Yep,
Oh no!
I was on DeviantArt, but that's how I got part of my following that I have now. So you know, I can't knock it.
Your following has pretty much grown with you, then, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a handful of people that were following me on DeviantArt that like follow me on Twitter now and comment on Soul to Call. So you know, I managed to get a following there, and that's part of how I have a following now.
That's impressive in terms of just like the sheer will that you use to continue. No, I'm sorry, but it takes a certain amount of will to remain on DeviantArt by choice. Like,
listen, I was 13.
It was a different time back then.
Yeah, I have no idea what DeviantArt is like now. I haven't been there in years.
DeviantArt has always terrified me.
Yeah.
Because the first time I went on DeviantArt, I saw furry porn, and I've never gone back.
Oh no. Oh no.
Ooh, I don't know. Can we even?
I'm gonna leave it in. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Okay. Okay. I mean, putting aside all that stuff about DeviantArt and all that. Okay.
Yeah, I had another webcomic too. That I hosted on Smack Jeeves.
That's another
damn.
like, you know.
That's a callback.
That's another one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Zombles. It was a zombie apocalypse comedy kind of story. You know, same vein as Shaun of the Dead and Zombieland, stuff like that. Didn't finish that, but that was like my first real adventure into properly trying to run a webcomic, and it taught me so much that I carried over to Soul to Call. And I think it's kind of the reason that I've been able to keep Soul to Call updated consistently for almost 5 years now, because I learned a lot.
Yeah, it's genuinely impressive. You, basically most of you guys that go full on indie, it's legitimately impressive how you guys keep the will to continue. Because, because I say this because most indie platforms, most indie comics have the problem of like they don't have the convenience of all the aggregator sites like Webtoon or MangaDex or all the other ones you can go to, you know. They don't have the convenience of use. So even the fact that people are interacting in comments, because like I was reading your comic. I was binge reading your comic since Ayashi, the one person all of us know, for some unfortunate reason, like the gods have cursed us. But
we thank him because he is actually one of our patrons.
Of course we thank him, but like I'm gonna talk shit about him when he's not here. You'll hear this later. Anyway, but Ayashi told me about your comic, and I started reading it. It's just like you have consistent engagement, which I know that probably something you don't really want to hear, because like I know most people who do it in the indie work don't really want to listen to someone talk to them like it's YouTube. But it's just you have consistent engagement, and it's kind of impressive for someone who is on a site who's like basically on their own site.
And it's quality engagement. Yeah, I mean,
no, I don't like I understand that that's something that not everybody has the the privilege of having, and like it is really cool. And part of the fulfillment of making the comic is people engaging with it in that way. I like seeing people, having theories and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's actually cool, and I'm not sure how I got that lucky, but it's cool that people are actually, doing that and are actually so engaged and paying so much attention, because there's so many subtleties I put into the comic, and that people pick up on that is really fulfilling.
I mean, you're drawing cosmic horror. That is
yeah.
I don't know if you guys know about cosmic. I mean, I know you know, but I don't know if you know cosmic horror fans, cast. But they are terrifying and obsessive.
Okay,
It's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. It's just what they are. It's like Steven Universe fans. They will consume the content in ways you didn't think they would consume the content, and all of a sudden they will know the ending of your story before you start, and you're like, why did I start this?
I think it's because like cosmic horror being the sort of a niche. I wouldn't say niche, but it is a kind of a niche genre in its own right.
It's pretty niche and it's hard to do.
Once you hit people, then it's you're off to the races pretty much.
It's like SCP. Actually, I'm gonna ask, SCP, is that a thing you checked out?
A long time ago. That was something that was like one of the initial things that first kind of inspired what I wanted to do, because Soul Skull went through so many different iterations before it became what it is now. And like one of them was kind of more based in an organization kind of setting.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know what SCP is.
You might have to explain that to me, actually.
SCP is Secure, Contain, Protect. It's a bunch of horror nerds in like a forum where they upload content to it, like it's a legitimate like scientific blog studying weird creatures that they found. I think the most popular SCP would be the one that just doesn't have any holes on its body, but somehow manages to vomit blood all the time.
Oh gosh!
Yeah.
I mean, if people who are expecting a comfy shortcast, we are probably like getting into like some moments. Although it is what it is.
But generally, like it's just about the terrifying monster and the fact that you're definitely 100% screwed. You thought I was gonna swear.
Yeah. Okay. So jumping back, like you've definitely seen like the changing tides of like different mediums where all the comics are being presented and all that. Like you've gone from like traditional to obviously you getting a following on the web, and then sort of going back to getting that physical presence whenever you do conventions. Like what's your stance on all like the different like mediums and platforms out?
I think any way that someone wants to and is able to tell their story is great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have any bias towards how someone wants to tell their story. If they want to tell it one way in one medium, that's great, as long as you're getting your story out there, because I think it's really important for those of us that feel compelled to tell stories to just whatever works for you, just do it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually wanted to touch a bit on your history with like web platforms for hosting a comic, because you are on your own site now, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, with you sort of like jerry-rigged CMS like to display it a certain way, and then
it's actually incredibly well designed.
It is,
all things considered.
It works. It works fine on my cell phone too. Like
he's good.
Well, that's the graphic design background talking, I guess.
Okay, so I think we mentioned like sort of like in pre-cast chats that you used to be on Tapas, and then you decided to leave the platform and go indie, and then like be part of a collective. Now this is the part I'm quite interested about because of the whole like collective thing. Tell us a little bit about that, like what led up to like those positions and
well, it started with the right of first refusal clause that they put in their terms of service. Do you know about that?
Yeah, I know about that. Right of first refusal is basically this. If you want to leave their platform, right? Although I think it only applies if they're paying you, but I'm not sure. If you want to leave that platform, they have 30 you basically can't make a deal or go anywhere else for 30 days, and in that 30-day span they will offer you all the deals that they can. At least that's the idea. They don't have to actually offer you jack shit, but they'll offer you every deal they can to get you to stay, and after the 30 days is up, you can just go.
This is if you're featured on Tapas, or like just anyone as well?
Just anyone. Just if your content was on the site at all.
Mm-hmm.
Although, yeah, it just means your work is trapped for 30 days. For an entire month, you just have to stay there. In theory, it's kind of good because it means people who aren't doing very well have the choice of getting paid.
Yeah.
At least getting paid a little bit, which, in my opinion, sounded great. But again, I don't draw.
Rommie, why don't you go ahead and like fill us in on the rest?
Well, one of the other big reasons that I left is because Tapastic is actually rebranded from something called Comic Panda, I believe. In the history of being Comic Panda, they actually lifted comics from their users. One of them being The Meek. I don't know if you've heard of that one. It was quite The Meek, Dershing. She's part of Hiveworks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I know that one.
But yeah, her comic was pretty much stolen from her, and she couldn't work on it for many years because of what they did. And she wasn't the only one. And then they later on they rebranded as Tapastic. So with that in mind, and then this kind of shady way that they implemented the right of first refusal, in that they put it into their terms of service without warning anyone, without telling anyone, that to me seems super shady. And given their history, I just wasn't comfortable staying there.
How long were you there before this?
A few years. I started pretty early on, maybe 3 years. It sucked because I did have a decent following there, but the peace of mind of not having to worry about them trying to pull any sneaky garbage was just, it mattered a lot more to me than staying there.
Keeping your options open, right, in the event that you have some deals that may come from outside Tapas or something like that, right?
Yeah, or just, the concern that something so important to me could ever be held hostage by anyone, because my work is very important to me. So I always want to be able to 100% own it. I want it to be mine. I don't want anyone making any calls on it. So pulling it off platforms like that is just the only decision that's right for me.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect this to be as deep as it became, but I'm also actually very pleased with that outcome.
Well, I'm glad.
As I heard that, I'm just like, if it's just the right of first refusal, my lizard brain goes, that's all right. But then there's like espionage and intrigue, backstory.
Ooh.
Oh my god!
I mean, bottom line is, right, not every platform and its terms is going to be suitable for every artist. Like, it depends on the work that you're making. It might depend on like your own personal needs for like where you want to go with the project, like career. I mean, in terms of career opportunities and stuff. So, I mean, props on you, really. I mean, as long as you're getting your work out there and you're happy with it.
Yeah.
I still personally kind of like the site, but only because it has better what do you call it? It gives me more options. It gives most uploaders more options than Webtoon, and that's it. I just like options. I like the ability to put GIFs in a manga. I think GIFs are great. Okay, I like GIFs.
Yeah, I mean, it has its ups and downs.
It has,
but it had more downs for me.
It's pretty much the same as using social media to like post your webcomic instead of having a hosted site, really. Then so. Quid pro quo, I guess.
Yeah, I wish I had more exact details about what happened with the Meek, but I couldn't find them. But I do know that, and she has talked about it. I actually met her at a convention at the same time the right of first refusal stuff was going on, and we talked a little bit about it. So, like, I'm quite confident it's quite legit and it's quite bad. So.
Let's talk about happier things.
What is a happier thing?
Like, like a happier thing, like, I'm pretty sure like the artists listening in would want to know, like, I mean, what your scheduling and your sort of like workflow is like. I mean,
yeah. So I'm pretty much a workaholic. That's step
Respect.
one. So often what I do is I write the script in its entirety first.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll write the whole thing like months in advance.
Okay.
And then I thumbnail it. Usually I thumbnail maybe a couple weeks or a month's worth of thumbnails in one sitting on one day. I set aside a day for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I take those thumbnails and I do the thumbnails on paper. I find paper I'm less likely to get really like precious about how things look.
Mm-hmm.
So I just draw it on paper real quick, real fluid, and then I go to digital. And I do it page by page, so I'm not doing things in bulk.
Mm-hmm.
There are benefits to doing them in bulk, but that's not the workflow I've fallen into.
Mm-hmm.
So I do it page by page. So I make the panels first, and then I plop in the dialogue. I make sure the dialogue is fitting and all that.
Very important, guys. If you're doing this, my gosh, like how many people?
She has. I'm gonna point out she has a typesetting vendetta, which I think she's right. I believe her, she's right, but still, like, it's funny to call it a vendetta than it is to just call it a rightful fight
hard.
against the stupidity of putting your text boxes underneath your drawing.
It can work in some occasions actually, but like, we digress. So after you've done like the typesetting and the panels, yeah, like I'm assuming this includes the lining the panels, or something like that.
Yeah, like the panel, the lines of the panels. So that all goes in according to the thumbnail, and then I usually don't figure out the dialogue in like where it's going to go in the thumbnail, like maybe roughly, but I find doing it on the computer is more effective because then I can see exactly how much space the font I'm putting in and the amount of dialogue that's going in each one is going to take up. So that's all done, and then I start doing some basic sketching. So usually that's like skeleton sketching, like just baselines, guidelines, and then I do another sketch on top of that. That's like, this is what I'm going to line art. This is the cleaner sketch. And then I line art that, and then I flat it and I color it. And usually that, in total, a page takes about 10 hours, unless there's something complicated about it. So it usually, like, between work and stuff, it usually takes about 3 days. So to make 2 pages a week, that's 6 days to make the 2 pages. And 1 day off, which I don't generally take.
Oh.
Again, respect. I'm down there with you. Days off? What's a day off?
I don't know. She doesn't go here.
I haven't seen the sun in so long.
You don't need it.
We joke about it, but we do like not. We
did an entire episode on proper care.
Rest is important, and I do I really do try to sleep. I try to sleep if nothing else. I don't.
But legit though, the sun is overrated. Vitamin D is not real.
All right, now.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, what do you say?
I swear to God, it's the global
baggage here.
Now we all know like Nen's like sleep schedule is I don't know. It's pretty much in the dumpster fires of hell. That's why.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 6 now, and I think I slept. I'm not sure about this, by the way, but I think I slept yesterday.
You think?
Maybe?
Oh, dear.
There's a likelihood that it happened, or there's the other likelihood that I didn't sleep and I just sat and zoned
my
out.
dude.
One of those 2 things happened.
On the side, do you have any like buffers or some sort? Like,
yes.
Done, like,
oh my gosh, yes.
How many pages of buffer have you got right now? How many pages?
5. It's not as big as I like it to be right now. It's a bit.
It's fine. You're doing fantasy.
Yeah,
No fantasy.
I usually like to have 10 or so pages in the buffer, but that's just not how it is right now.
No one who's doing fantasy has a buffer of more than like 5 to 6. I've not seen anybody who does full fantasy and has a real buffer.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that Zombles, my other webcomic, taught me, is like, have a buffer.
Yeah.
Do not go into that without a buffer, because I did that. Never again. Never again. Nope.
Our friend Carolus never has a buffer.
Yeah. So if I run out of buffer, I'm stopping. I'm just like, there's gonna be a pause.
Oh god.
I'm gonna build up my buffer, and I'm not gonna come back because I'm not doing that to myself.
How I mean, have you ever like had to pause soul to call at any point?
Not because of the buffer thing. I did last year, around this time actually, but that was because it was kind of a vacation. I had some very close friends coming from Australia to visit me. So it's just like, I wanted to completely focus on that. And that was like one of the only times that I just stopped updates altogether, just because I didn't want to run out of buffer in that time, and I didn't want to have to worry about it. But otherwise, if the buffer's starting to run short, kind of like it is right now, I just bring it down to 1 update a week, so I can save that second page that I draw, and then build it up. So that's where I am right now. So
it's interesting that you're actually like updating like, you know, 1 page per update in this like, you know, binge consume culture. A lot of people are like, but where's more? it's too choppy for me. So like I'm actually quite like, you know, in all that you've got a very patient audience.
Well,
you know?
I think I kind of curated my audience from people who were almost used to that, because I started on my own site. Like when I started the comic, it wasn't hosted anywhere else. I started it in home base in that site, and I did have mirrors in like other places, but I started there. And the people, you know, my peers, the people that I associated with, made comics in a similar fashion on their own sites, and they had audiences that were used to 1 or 2 pages a week. So I just kind of got an audience from people who were used to that format more than the, you know, multiple pages in one big update binge kind of way. I mean, I do have readers that I'm quite aware of don't read my comic until like months later when they know they have something they can binge. But then I also have plenty that just come back, and it's amazing. That's amazing. I'm amazed. I have people that do that.
Hey, you make good work. That's what happened. That's how that's how society, life rewards you like that. But
No.
actually, on the talk of buffers, because we're still here, and I'm gonna take advantage of this to do as many segues as I need to.
Good God.
Nice.
On the topic of buffers, is the buffer the reason why you don't really do like podcast appearances? Is that why? Because it's just like I could take this 3-hour break to talk to people, or I could work.
Socializing? No. I have a tablet and a cat. That's all I ever need.
I mean, replace the cat with a dog, and we're talking real life there.
Oh, God.
Yes. No, it's mostly been like with Spiderforest, for the podcast, they have different topics that they bring up, and like they invite people to come and be part of that podcast if they want to, if they think they have something to contribute. And I just have ginormous self-esteem issues.
Oh no.
And like I just don't think I have anything valuable to contribute to those, and it's really just a thing that I have to work through. But it's not a workaholic thing. I really like talking about comics. I really like, you know, socializing with other people who make comics. So it's just me.
It's just, do I feel like I have anything to like add that someone else hasn't already said, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
I relate to that on a very spiritual level.
very much so, very much so.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we have to say like we are honored that you've chosen like us as a place to dip your toes.
I am also honored that you are inviting me to talk today.
Hugs all around, I guess.
Yay!
Okay,
Power of friendship.
You guys are being gross. Okay, I'm gonna move on without you. All this emotion.
You don't get any power of friendship.
I don't need the power of friendship. I have the power of coffee and spite.
Rommie, what's the part you enjoy the most about making comics in the process, and the part that you could rather not, but you have to because necessary evils? Is it scripting? Is it the coloring? What have you?
I think it's the writing. I really like writing characters. And so like just writing nuanced and deep characters and portraying that on a page and people getting it. That's another like important thing. That's just like, that's my favorite part. Just seeing people caring about these characters. That was like my mission statement when I set out, is I wanted to make characters that people would give a damn about and would feel something for. So like that's my favorite thing. Probably like it can really vary what becomes UGG. I really like coloring. It can be a challenge, but I really like coloring, and that's probably obvious. I get lots of compliments about my coloring, so I assume I'm doing something right there. Usually, like, I almost go through like stages of grief with every page, and it's usually the sketch phase. Like, usually at that point, I'm like, I don't know how to draw. I don't know anything. I don't know anything anymore. And
because you have to conjure something up from like almost nothing. Well, apart from what you visual preferences are, but
like I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Why did I think I could do this? And then when I'm finished the page, I'm like, you know what? That's not so bad. But I'd say it's probably the sketch phase, because that's just when I question my entire existence.
That is such like a mood. That's such a mood right there. As the Gen Z kids would say, #mood. That is.
or even like hearing like the stuff like the hard stuff like big oof.
Big oof. Oh
Yikes.
yeah, big oof. Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're dating ourselves.
Yeah,
We need to
that's-
stop.
That about covers it. Hello, fellow kids.
I dated myself yesterday by saying, I said, do you guys remember when Ashton Kutcher did Pranked? That's not even that long ago. But I was talking to people who were just like,
not pranked.
yeah, I don't. Punked, my bad. Who cares? And it's Ashton Kutcher's career. Who cares about Ashton Kutcher? Anyway, but I said that in a call with some people, and they were just like, what? I was like, okay.
Who let this old man in here?
And then I said, yeet. I'm never saying that again.
I gave him grief for that,
Yeah.
but we are digressing again. We really should be talking about the Soul to Call.
The thing,
itself.
yeah, that's actually I didn't want to talk about that. Cosmic horror, Soul to Call, wonderful.
Yes.
How much cosmic horror do you actually read?
Not a lot, honestly. I'm actually I'm really more of a video game person. So
Fair
a lot
enough.
of what I draw from is video games. So
Ooh.
Silent Hill is a huge one. If you've ever played Silent Hill,
Oh
you can
yeah, I played all of them.
you can-
I see the
yeah,
Silent
you
Hill.
can definitely see like that in my work. Yeah.
The influence,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It really comes in with the characters mostly.
yeah,
That's where I see
yeah.
it. With have you played Deadly Premonition then?
I've watched a playthrough of it. I have not.
Good, because that's good. You need if you're gonna write horror, you need Deadly Premonition in your life. Just a little bit. It's
Yeah,
it's like
I have
the
watched
most
Twin Peaks as
batshit
well,
crazy
so
game. Oh.
like what it was based on. So I've seen
She knows her shit.
yeah.
She knows her shit.
Research, man. Research.
Another huge
quality.
influence that most people don't know about is a game called Shadow Hearts.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, have you heard about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Cause,
Yeah,
'cause I'm
not everybody, not many people I talk to actually know about that one, and that was fundamental. I played that before I played Silent Hill, and that was something. It combined things. It combined kind
Yeah.
of lighter elements and darker elements in a way that I really dug, and that was
Yeah.
really like fundamental. And like I like this. I want to create something like this.
I remember playing it, and I only got it because it was a hand-me-down. Someone,
Aw.
my cousin bought it, and he was just like, "This game is terrible."
Oh no!
He gave it to me because he couldn't handle the combat system. He sucks.
Ah.
Don't worry about him. I don't like him anyway.
Wow.
But no, but
Who's
yeah,
the real
I like
loser
to-
here?
Exactly. Who knew I would use that more than 10 years later? No, but no, I like the fact that it's video games. You get your influences from.
Yeah.
Although I don't know why it feels like when I first read your work, I was just like, oh, this person has read the Necronomicon like 9 times.
I mean, I have.
You know the
I
Necronomicon?
have
Did you?
read the Key of Solomon,
Okay, fair enough.
which is where I actually drew. Actually lifted a few magical circles from there and used them
Yeah,
in my comic. There's reasons
Mm.
why I used them the way I did, and it's I don't know. That's getting into my magic system, like really into the nitty gritty of it. So
Oh.
we can do that later if the time allows.
Then I think we've gotten this far, but I mean, we really should, for the benefit of people who have never heard of Rommie's work, like give a quick overview of what it is. Just
we waited this long to do this. I feel like I've somehow messed up, but I'm gonna keep it at this point because
This is your moment, Nen. You can.
this is
give
the
it
moment
its grand
for me.
introduction.
All right. So Sotocall is great because it starts at least the place where I think it starts is right after something known as the Fall,
Mhm.
an event known as the Fall. 2/3 of the world is dead, Thanos style,
Yep.
clicked out of existence more or
Yeah.
less.
Oh gosh.
I tell the story wonderfully. Don't worry. About it.
I believe in you.
And then in the sky, there's like all these cracks all over the place, and like basically your worst nightmare and like every terrible thing from SCP is roaming the universe.
Yeah.
The universe, the world. There's
They're coming out of these cracks.
no, they're coming. They wander out of an ever-present fog. That's what it is. Like I don't know how else to describe
Yeah,
it.
you're right.
There's lots of like, you know those Wiccan people that you meet in. There's lots of them, but their magic is real now and it's terrifying. Don't make fun of the weird kid in class. And in the chaos, there's a person called Avril or April. Look at you with that French.
April is how I personally pronounce it.
Avril, but then everyone like who
yes,
you know,
I'm aware.
Everyone
but
who, like,
listen,
edgy team was like, but it's Avril.
All I'm saying is I saw that name and my brain just went April, and that's what I'm going with the whole way through.
You wouldn't be the first.
She hopes to find anathema. It's like a creature with some terrifying abilities that she needs, so she can find her family that she's looking for. That's as much as I can recall in like 10 seconds.
That basically covers
I think I did.
Yeah.
Okay. I did a great job. Look at me.
Good job.
All right.
Everyone, please clap.
Oh, don't Jeb Bush me. Please clap.
Please clap. I have anxiety. I have to admit, like, horror is not really my thing, but but in like the fracas so that is my schedule, I have actually read like a good portion of the prologue, and I do like April. I do like April. She's
Thank
spunky.
you. Yeah, I've actually heard that like people who don't usually enjoy horror, still enjoy my comic, and I think that's a good thing, because I didn't really set out to create something super terrifying, so like that's great.
I think it's because you're not going for like hi, I'm here to scare. Yeah, you know, I mean, Junji Ito is just, I'm here to show you body horror. It's never really too scary. It's just gross.
Yeah.
Like,
listen, I read Junji Ito when I was 12. I regret it.
You made so many mistakes.
We were 12. You were 12.
Yeah. Listen.
Yeah, man.
Listen.
It's like when I watched Jeepers Creepers 1, 2, and 3 all in a row, and I think I was like 8.
Yeah, terrible judgment. Yeah, I had terrible judgment when I was little. I exposed myself to tons of horror way before my time. But, you know, it turned me into the person I am today, so, you know.
Wait, was this, I mean, how exactly did you get exposed to all this? Like, did you, your parents, like, I don't know, sometimes,
I had the internet, okay? I had a computer in my room because my older brother, was an IT, nerd from when he was very young. So we all had computers in our own room very early on. So there I was, 12-year-old little Rommie, like, ooh, what's this? I kind of like scary things. And then it's, it's like watching a train wreck. You don't want to be there, but you can't look away anymore.
Exactly. It's wonderful.
Wait, and did you ever like talk to your parents about this sort of things? Like, or did you like you probably discuss this sort of thing like with people who enjoy the same on the internet?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Pretty
like
much.
We can blame my friends for really exposing me to begin with. So it's their fault, not mine. Okay.
Really, you're gonna do that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. You're gonna do the friend defense.
No, I sought that stuff. I sought the stuff out on my own. I'm not gonna lie.
I like the fact that, like, as I've gotten older, all the horrific things have stopped being scary, and the things that actually scare me now are like taxes.
Yeah, no, it's same.
Adulting is the scary.
Like I saw
Give
a
me the
video
monsters.
for Xbox.
I know what to do with monsters.
Exactly. Have you seen the Xbox ad where they like a baby, like this lady gives birth to a baby and he basically shoots through the sky and he ages like really quickly and then lands in a grave?
Oh no.
That scared me because it was just like, my brain was just going, he had no 401k. He didn't have anything ready. He wasn't planning.
Oh no.
My head was just like, oh God. How did he get a college degree? Well, did he have a job? Like, he just aged in like 15 seconds. Oh my God.
That's the real body horror.
It's the real body horror. Age.
Age, just the number, like, the ever like the bill, the ever creeping credit card bill is a number as well.
Some of us will look like Brad Pitt when we're 50, and some of us will look like John Travolta when we're 50. Where do you stand?
Some of us will look like Smeagol, but
Oh God.
All that aside, right? So, when you started out like creating Soul to Call, like, did you just run with like a script, like, or did you like take the time to like hash out the world a bit, the characters a little bit, and stuff?
Yeah. When I first started, I had a number of chapters already written. They changed wildly from where they started, but I did have I had many of the chapters written, almost the whole thing written. Most of that's been scrapped now, but it did give me like a very clear idea of what I wanted to do. I had a clear idea of the base of the characters. I had my ending all sorted out. Still have my ending all sorted out. That's like one of my guiding principles is that I know the last scene in my comic, and whatever I do, it's always going to be aiming towards that. And even though like I rewrite my scripts constantly, even when I'm like working on a page, I realize something's going to work a lot better. There's always that in mind. So I always know where I'm going with the characters and with the plot in general. And that, I think, helps things from getting too crazy. But yeah, I started out with a very like a full idea of what was going to happen. Even if that's changed now, it was good to have at the start.
I think it really does show because like there's lots of things like you said this, and there's like those little things that people will notice because you're thinking of where you want to end up. So a lot of things like they just fall into place along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So and it feels really natural when you're reading it. Like I think one of the things that I felt very very amusing to see was the cultists use a bleeding eye symbol, and the Order uses an eye symbol as well. And my head was like, wait, is this like? Did they do this in a opposition of the Order? Is that what this? Oh God, I know all the things, and I went back to square one because I don't know any other things.
Did you have a Matrix?
Yeah, I always have them. I have a Matrix moment that whenever I open like a bag of Doritos, and it doesn't immediately spill. Like,
no, I'm talking about the I know Kung Fu.
Oh, that one.
That's pretty much what you would do.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. It was just like oh shit, yeah, I know Kung Fu. I am Keanu Reeves, and I have acting range, I swear.
But then again, right? I think what Rommie says is really important in terms of like beginning with the end somewhat in mind. And Merriweather has actually covered it before as well. Like saying that people like are really good and gung-ho at starting stories, but they're not good at knowing how to end stories. Yeah,
that's why Game of Thrones ended so poorly.
Yeah.
Topical humor, guys. Topical humor. Keeping it fresh.
Yeah. Like, I do consider myself to, speaking of Game of Thrones, something of a gardener. I let things kind of organically grow as I'm writing things, and if I see something happening or something better than I originally planned occurring, I'll go with that. I'm perfectly happy to change what I've written to suit something better. But I think, as I've said, because I have that ending always in mind, it's gonna always my cat is talking. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Your cat seems to agree. Yeah. We like the
green cat.
My dogs sometimes does that too.
Yeah, so because I always have that ending in mind, even though like characters are kind of organically growing as I write things down, as the story progresses, I always have an idea of where it's going to end up. So it's always growing towards a point, even if I might have little like offshoots or other things kind of happening. It's always aiming for that. I always know we're heading there. So I let it naturally get there, but I always know that's where it's going. So it's never like, this has changed everything and we're going to go off in this direction. It's like, no, you come back here, we're going here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, it was this whole discussion about plotting versus pantsing that, I mean, when people was discussing the whole Game of Thrones thing. So, I mean, I guess, I mean, if you consider like how the differences, like how much do you plot and how much do you actually pants? Like
I kind of plot, like I write the entire script, and then when I'm actually drawing it, other things will come in, and I'll kind of pants things as I go, because I edit a lot of scenes on the fly. Chapter 3 in particular was one that I went into. I drew like 5 pages for it, and I was like, this is not working. Something's wrong here, and I rewrote the whole thing on the fly as I was going through it because I had to, because it just wasn't working the way it was. And it worked out. But it's because I kind of have this overarching structure that I've already written, and I kind of pants within that. So I've got a structure to work in. I'm pantsing in a contained environment. Yeah.
Controlled environment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I have the flexibility for better ideas and ways to improve, but not so much that it's going to become just a complete mess. Yeah.
As something else entirely.
So much planning. Oh God,
It's
I need to take that into account more.
it's how I'm still going, I think.
Yeah, being able to work in like a little set sandbox. I mean, again, I respect long stories. I think it takes a lot of effort and basically thought to make a long story. Like
Yeah.
you got to think about a lot of variables.
Oh yeah.
How often were you planning to make this a little shorter? Did you have were you when you started, were you like, okay, this is gonna be 15 chapters? Or when you started, you're like, this is gonna be the better part of a half decade.
When I like the very first time I sat down to write the script, I'm like, it's gonna be 13 chapters. That was my goal. And now I'm like,
Ooh.
and then it became 30 chapters. I was like, okay, so we're gonna
30 chapters, and how many have you got so far? 7?
Yeah. So I was we're gonna dial that back a little. And it became like, at the moment I don't know how many chapters it's going to be. There's a lot of like future planning I need to do. But it came down to a lot of condensing. Like,
yeah.
The very first idea for Soul to Call was almost a monster of the week kind of scenario. And it would be like a road trip with a monster of the week kind of and an overarching plot. Yeah. That didn't happen.
Basically Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
With a random monster.
but Scooby-Doo, but cosmic horror.
Yeah,
but because I really like road trip stories. But that didn't really work out. So now it is what it is. But that was like Monster of the Week. That's a little more easy to like maybe self-contain into 13 chapters. But that was scrapped. And it became more of a character piece. I have my cast of characters, and it really became about them and their journeys. And it's really just about now condensing everything into their journeys, and what is the most efficient way to get them on their way through their arcs. So
is that your cat?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Yes. Sorry, what's going on?
Just a loud. There was just like a persistent noise, and I was like, "Is someone dying?"
Your cat's on your cat's on the keyboard?
No, my cat is across the room dragging a blanket around. He's very, very rambunctious.
Cats are sometimes the best writing partners I've heard.
He's got lots of energy. I'm hoping he'll go back to sleep soon.
Yeah, so one of the harder things I think about writing a horror genre story is definitely the constant tension from like heavy reality, monstrous happenings, and people are like, oh my god, it's emotionally fatiguing to read, or just so much like, or you just have so much of it visually that your audience is kind of like, okay, more this, whatever. So what kind of tips do you have, like trying to like balance out like the sort of like beats and like pacing of like more lighthearted moments with more like some moments?
This is to go back to video games. I'm gonna be referencing video games a lot because they influenced me a ton.
Yeah, go for it.
The Last of Us. The Last of Us, that was like a really influential game as well for Soul's Call. How they did their pacing is they had like a big fighting kind of action scene, and then they had a character moment. They had a puzzle. They had something a little less intense and something that built the characters. So I kind of started basing my writing around those beats. There would be an action moment, and then there would be a moment to decompress somehow, a moment where the characters would talk, or just something to decompress the moments and instill that sense of camaraderie and a lighter tone to counterbalance the horror that they might have just gone through.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is literally what The Last of Us does.
Yeah.
Although The Last of Us also builds character a lot in the action.
Yeah,
scene.
No, that's also definitely something. Like I don't want to have an action scene just to have an action scene. I want it to either like build on the world, but ideally build on the characters and the world at the same time. I want it to be there for a reason. I'm not going to draw an action sequence for no reason, guys. Listen, I'm not going to have that existential crisis for no reason. So
Cracks
there,
everywhere.
yes. So there's a purpose for like every scene, like for every scene, like every choice made to like whether to have a crazy fight or to have a soft fluffy moment. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I believe in the crazy fight regularly, but to be fair, I also like John Wick. So what do I know?
Yeah.
To be fair, like I like John Wick. I might know no jack shit. A lot of your like as you said already, a lot of influences are video game based. Have you played Call of Cthulhu?
I have not.
I'm asking that because of your monsters, and like we talked about it earlier, and we didn't really go too into it, but your monsters are. Oh my god!
I know
they remind you of it.
They instill fear that I rarely feel in anything.
Aw. Thank you.
Like, okay, these are the monsters, right? There's the Hound. It's literally big dog, but no skin.
Woof
Woof woof, but terrifying. Will eat the fuck out of your soul. Like, right? Then there's the Shadow, whose entire description is don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look.
Which is pretty much like Doctor Who's Weeping Angels, isn't it?
Kind of, because the Shadow's literally like fisting its mouth in the picture you drew. I mean, how else would you describe that? Look at it. Am I wrong, Rommie?
No, that's about right.
The Strider, which I actually like, this is when we get to the ones I find actually more existentially scary. The Strider, which is it's completely silent. It has no presence. It moves around in a fog that it makes. So basically, Britain. It just moves around Britain. It's basically unnoticeable until it's about to murder you, right? And like it's like one of the SCPs. It doesn't have any purpose. It just moves. And if you're in the way, it just kills you. It doesn't kill. There's no hate. There's no bloodlust. It's just because you're there.
Yep. Wrong place, wrong time.
Then there's the Nightmare, which is just drowsy but on steroids. Like the Nightmare literally feeds off of painful memories, forcing victims to relive horrible events, which I don't really want to relive grade school again, okay? This needs to not be a thing. It will capture and torture humans for long periods of time to produce trauma that it feeds on.
Yeah.
All these creepy monsters. I mean, you've said that you've experienced a lot of consumed a lot of media in the past, horror media and just things in general that obviously goes into the comic. But how much active research have you done in the process of making Soul to Call? Like when you were designing characters or writing them?
I honestly did more research on the post-apocalyptic aspect of it, like the realistic stuff. Survival, first aid, gunplay, how society might react to an event like this. So I did a lot of research on that front, but on the horror front, it was really pulled from the stuff that I had experienced before, but not necessarily anything I researched. It was just kind of imagination and taking some of the values that people I admire have designed their monsters with and implemented that. Like I mentioned before, Key of Solomon, I used that for a couple of the magical circles that were used. And the sigils are actually based on how some modern Wiccans kind of design their sigils.
The weird vampire kids in school.
Yeah, those ones.
Yeah.
Did you design your characters as you started doing the story, or did you take your time okay, let's just draw them out so I can actually refer to them and make sure I get them consistent across
Soul to Call itself was I did what they always tell you not to do, and I took my high school story and I made it my magnum opus.
Great job. I very much respect for that, for you breaking those molds, taking down those boundaries.
But you did other comics.
Yes, I did other comics,
so
and this went through the ringer before it became a thing. So it's nothing like how it was in high school, but a decent portion of the characters are new versions of those characters, completely redesigned. But with designing them, I kind of designed them over the course of years, because I was always just changing how they looked as the story was evolving.
It's a good way of instilling life into the story. No, so because if it's an active thing that a character is doing, it really just builds on them. It's like, oh, now my hair's in a ponytail. Why? Because I want it like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're changing. They're evolving.
Yeah.
They're people.
Yeah. So, yeah, that I kind of designed them just like that. And depending on how the story was, you know, which way it was starting to grow into, that's what started to change how they looked. I did focus as I got closer to actually making an actual comic to like focus on silhouettes and focus on just what that character would present with their looks. I actually like the whole reason Eli ended up with a poncho is because I wanted him to look a little bit like a mage. So yeah, but that also became a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Also, it's cold out there.
It's good to have a hug.
Bringing back these hugs again.
You gotta get your own hug.
Gotta make your own hug.
Yeah.
Homemade is fine.
These are home baked.
I actually one thing I did enjoy, like, and also like our producers pointed out, is that unlike a lot of these these like kinds of stories, that they almost always start with exposition, info dump, a lore dump and stuff. But you managed to give just enough. So yeah, I mean
that's like the number one thing you don't do with a comic. You don't start with the Star Wars scroll. You don't do that. That's not what you do. I mean, I might as well.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Might as well be reading a novel if that's happening. See, don't do that. Comics, in my opinion, comics are a visual storytelling medium. Do your storytelling visually. Don't tell me about it. Show me. So,
a bit like. So basically, movies, really, you don't always have. I mean, okay, apart from Star Wars again.
Look, all I'm saying is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
No. Yeah, but even within like, you know, movies, like you don't have like, I mean, lore dumps at the start of the movie.
Like some do, some have like the narration and like, you know, thousands of years ago the gods, you know, did whatever the heck gods do. You know, sometimes they do that. Not good, but sometimes they do that.
Why do you think people keep doing that though? Like, I mean, what do you think is the reason people keep like doing all these like exposition, like more
I think people feel like they need to establish their story. They need to tell people about this amazing world they've developed, or they think you need to know everything up front or you're not going to understand. But I don't think you do. I think you need a character. You need a character that you can connect with, and then you'll follow that character through anything. And through that character, you can learn the world. You don't have to know how the magic system works. You don't have to know the history. You just have to have a character, and then you naturally follow that character through the story.
Dramatic irony is great. Like, you know, like the audience knows, but the characters are unaware. But there is like too much of a good thing, I guess, what happens when you info dump when you
I mean, like that, and like also the ticking time bomb under the diner table, or, you know, the whole idea of something, you know, something but the characters don't, and that can create tension or comedy, or, you know, it can create a lot of things. So like there is like a benefit to that, but I also argue that you show that visually as well. You don't tell them. You do something visually to show that there is a bomb under the table. You don't say, oh, and there was a bomb under the table. Scene. You know, you sneakily put the camera under there, and like you see the timer counting down, but they don't know, but you know, and that's what the tension is there for.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, showing is great. Show don't tell is great. Although sometimes I think of like the medium that we more or less are working in, the, like, you know, just the internet, and just how like people will really take anything. And sometimes I just go, I mean, I could put the effort in to do this thing, or I could just tell them.
Yeah, no, like I think narration does, like, you can cut down on panels if you have like a narrator telling things that are happening, but it's really not an approach I enjoy doing at all, and it's not even an approach I necessarily enjoy reading, because for me it's a very visual thing. Fun fact, the prologue for Soul to Go almost had a narration. I almost did that, but I cut it out at the last minute. The thing too is that there would never be narration after that. So like, what was I doing? So I almost like explained the fall from Avril's, like Avril was talking about it. But I cut that out because it just doesn't work. It was never going to happen again. And a big thing for me about narration too is I have kind of more than one main character here. I didn't want to focus to be on one character, and I didn't want you in the character's head. I wanted the character to be as much of a mystery as, you know, everything else. I wanted you to see them struggle and see them grow and not really entirely know, but to figure it out. The subtleties again. I'm a big fan of subtleties. I want you to look at my character and figure out what's going on in their head. I don't want to tell you.
Which is pretty much like experiencing it alongside them, right? This the goal they're going for. Yeah, it's understandable. Do you I think we talked a little bit with the production team, and they mentioned stuff like there doesn't seem to ever be like proper flashbacks per se. Which this is another tool besides our narration like info dump that it gets used a lot in comic making, and just to clear things for the reader. What's your stance on that? Like, and do you reckon Soul to Call will ever have any?
My goal is to not have any flashbacks. Like, I use dreams, I use like hallucinations, I use like traumatic, not exactly flashbacks. It usually happens like concurrently with whatever is going on in the story. But like little flashes, little insights into things that have happened, hints of things that have happened. But I never plan to full stop the story to go back in time and explain something. If anything is really compelling to me to make a comic out of, I'm gonna make a side comic. It's gonna be something optional if you want to know more about this or that. It's gonna be like in a side comic or something. But all the information you're going to need is going to happen in present day. We're not gonna go back. Either the characters are going to like explain it briefly, or we're going to get hints in some other way. When James is captured by the nightmare in chapter 4, there's lots of little hints I put in there about him, and that'll be expanded upon later. And Avril's having, some PTSD issues now too. That's how I show backstory instead of full stop flashback mode.
It kind of throws a wrench into like the events in a way, like in terms of the
because you're stopping everything, and suddenly we're going back there, and we have to completely reorient, like the viewers where we are, what's happening, what state everyone's in, and I just want to keep moving forward.
I get why people use flashbacks, like with all tools that we've spoken about today. They're all narrative tools.
I'm not dissing anyone for doing anything except info dumps at the beginning. Those I cannot forgive.
Like my general rule of thumb is like with narration or with flashbacks, they're all literary tools that have uses, and they're all meant to be used sparingly, but to achieve a good effect. Yeah, that's what they are.
Yeah, for sure.
So. It's good that they exist, and I mean, info dumps are bad, but all I'm saying is, in a galaxy far, far away. All right,
we've come full circle.
We always come full circle. Okay, so you're talking about your comic, which, by the way, we all like.
Oh.
Like, seriously, everyone, especially our producer, she's very in love with your comic because she has a weird fixation on horror that she has yet to explore, and then she went to read your stuff and very into it.
I'm really enjoying like the variation, like how like the color progresses.
Thank you.
It's the first thing that grabs me.
I'm in it for symbols. But we talked about your comic. We talked about how you started. We talked about Tapas. Now I want to talk about Spiderforest.
All right.
More specifically, why? Before we actually get into what they do for you and what's good about them, why did you choose Spiderforest instead of Hiveworks? I think they're both about the same level competing.
They used to be more overtly competing, but now they're more chill about each other.
Yeah, it's hard to fight for 20 years.
Yeah, 20-year war, war of the bugs.
I mean, why did you explain like your choice for that, and then later we can also like have a quick like explanation about what those are, because I don't think all of our readers are very
a lot of our viewers, a lot of our listeners and viewers are artists, so it would be good for them to know what it's like on your side of in your golden grass. Golden grass inside of forest.
Yeah. To me, like from the outside, Spiderforest was a lot more chill than Hiveworks. Hiveworks, I would say, is from what I don't actually know a ton about Hiveworks, full disclosure. But it seems more like it's more businessy than Spiderforest, and especially when I was first starting out, I wasn't really sure exactly what I was doing or what I wanted, and a couple comics that I enjoyed were already part of the Spiderforest collective. So that was kind of like the big motivator. Is it just seemed like a chill environment, and there were people there that I enjoyed their work of, so I just gave applying a shot. Like, what have I got to lose, right?
Okay.
So yeah, it was really just that. It was like, I like these people's works. I wouldn't mind being associated with them. It seems like a good place to grow as a new-ish webcomic artist. So I went for it.
That's fair enough. When I looked into both of them, because a lot of people have been asking me about to put their more adult-oriented comics. And I was talking to them about Hiveworks and Spiderforest. I always say Hiveforest and Spiderworks whenever I say both of them. It's the first time I've gotten it right.
Whoops.
But I was talking about both of them. I noticed that like Hiveworks just asks you for character designs and basic stuff, and it goes, all right, yeah, you got that. Show us your writing, and we'll go from there. And then Spiderforest is like, you need 25 chapters,
15 pages.
Yeah, 15. Is it 15 pages each? Oh, sorry, 25 pages. The thing says at least 25 now. I think it's changed.
Yeah, it might have changed.
It's still terrifying.
I think it did, because we had a lot of applications that like it had like 15 pages, and like we don't really know what to make of this at 15 pages. So yeah, we probably changed it.
I guess I was just wondering, because they seemed a lot more tense because of the 25-page limit, but I can see where you're coming from now. It's just they just want to make sure that you're willing to work.
Yeah, like they want to know that you're you're making it, and like we want to know the kind of story we're bringing into our collective, because we can get some weird ones.
This is where we push pause and sort of like discuss a little bit about collectives, because I don't think all of our viewers are aware of like what exactly they do. So
a collective is basically just a group of artists came together, made their own website, put themselves in the community and associate with each other and cross advertise. If I remember correctly, they all cross advertise.
Give themselves a name for that as well.
Yeah,
and that's it really. Anyone can make a collective, but like only few collectives are successful. Yeah, because to be a successful collective, you need people who will not only work but people who are good. And Hiveworks and Spiderforest have both.
Yeah.
How much business stuff do people in collectives do?
I think it depends on the collective. Spiderforest is like very volunteer based, and a lot of our projects are the creators of the other comics come up with the projects. It's not just like the head honchos coming up with stuff. We're all welcome to put projects forward and try and put something together. So it's really like just the whole community is welcome to do anything. And no one is like shoehorned into one role. And you can also not do that much in Spiderforest. Like the only necessities to be in the collective, the bare minimum, is to run the top banner, the banner that's at the top of my comic, and participate in the application season, which is, when other people apply to be part of the collective. We go in and we read the comics and we talk about them and we decide if they're a good fit.
That is such a minimum that I did not think it was that. I did not think that was what it would be.
That is really true.
Yeah,
I had.
That's one reason I like it, because I'm very like nose to my tablet. I want to work. I don't want to spend too much time, with like community stuff. Yeah,
socializing.
So I love to contribute when I can to Spiderforest, because they are a great group. Everyone there is super friendly, super chill. It's a really great place to grow as a comic artist. And it's also super chill. So if I don't want to do anything except those things, then I can ghost for months at a time. I don't have to be there.
It's needs, basically.
And like you'll notice on my site I have a couple other banner ads at top and apart from the
Yeah.
top one. That
Yeah.
is also
Yeah.
completely optional. Like the reason I'm in those is because it puts my banner as well in that rotation. So it's to my benefit to run those as well as the top banner, but it's not necessary.
wonderful
I don't
way.
have to put those there if
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
That's a wonderful way of
Oh, you
ensuring
mean
cross promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this. She's got the top banner on her site. Like I'm looking at Super Villainous right now, which I'm actually gonna go
Wow.
read that. But at the bottom you've got like 3 smaller banners. There are also other comics, and it's just every time you load a new web page, those change.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the same for every other comic that has those banners running.
Yeah.
So, I get more eyes on my comic that way.
This is legit. I actually really like the way they operate. I thought it was going to be a lot. Cause so whenever someone sees like how websites like Webtoon, Tapas operate, you think it's gonna be way more difficult to do their jobs, and when you find out that the people who do their jobs in groups do it so effortlessly, it breaks the myth. Would that be what it would be? Yeah, it breaks the myth a little bit, I thought like, running a site like this would be running a site like Spiderforest, way more work. Having and have to involve everyone all the time or else nothing would get done.
Instead of algorithms,
Yeah.
Because that kind of takes care of it.
Algorithms have their place, but also don't. It's weird. Honestly, it's weird. Because even the banners are controlled by an algorithm. Like, it's just a more forgiving algorithm that says, I'm going to show things every time this comes up. That's it. No, but what was I saying? Yeah, it seems fun, and you guys don't have to do the weird hours and the excessive amounts of work that a lot of aggregator sites really push.
Yeah, no, it's really flexible. We really can just do whatever we want, as long as.
There's got to be something though that you don't get because so.
Well, we don't really have like adult content, we don't really do that.
There's no H as Carrie said.
Yeah.
There's no H.
Well, really, like the only thing I've seen like people get pushed out for is like hate speech, that kind of stuff,
Respect.
just that kind of general stuff. We're a very accepting community, so if you're gonna be an ass, you're not allowed to stay.
Yeah, love is love.
Yes, love is love.
No, but I was gonna ask actually, because on the topic of comics, I spoke to Kaz and some other people about it yesterday. But have you heard of Comicsgate?
I have. I kind of know what it's about, but I've never really gotten a full story either. I just know it's gross.
Okay, cool. Because it sounds like those people you mentioned, those nebulous individuals, sounded a lot like the people who were in that movement. So I was wondering if that happened in the collective space, and we just all missed it. The bunch of Comicsgaters showed up.
Or is it something different? Because you got to remember that Comicsgate tends to revolve around like
comics.
A lot of superhero comics in particular, and we know that the superhero genre is a lot of it is written for mostly young male audience or like male audience to enjoy.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I only really know about what happened very vaguely. Probably shouldn't talk about it too much. It's just that people with different ideas that didn't really meld with ours went off on their own, and that was a bit messy, and that's the kind of stuff that we don't condone. And like the other thing is basically don't talk to people who have applied about how they're doing within like the judging process. Like when someone's applied and we're like trying to decide if they're a good fit for the collective, don't go to them and say don't go to them and say, hey, you're doing really great, or hey, they don't like this and this and this and here's what they're saying about you. That's like that happened I think last application season, and it was like grounds for everyone to like, hey, remember our rules, guys. Don't do this.
I mean, it's hard to not do it when usually the people who are going to be applying are friends of the people who are already in.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, actually, like 2 of my favorite webcomics applied to Spiderforest after I was in, and I was so happy. I didn't talk to them, but it's a thing.
It's hard. It's like I find it hard to not tell people stuff like that. Like, for example, I find it hard to stop Carrie from being in here, and because I can't say no to him. If he asks me anything, I literally just go sure. Boy, that sounds very difficult to deal with on some level.
But the comics is also a relatively small space, and sometimes there are just some things you have to be careful about because everyone's
talking to everyone.
Yeah,
they just are.
Yeah.
I mean, currently we're in a situation where we're talking to you, and we're in we make comics in an entirely different website with entirely different people, and now we're gonna end up talking to more people like you.
Yeah,
and it's just everyone's still talking to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a couple weeks or about a month for the application. You just have to keep your mouth shut for that long.
A month of pure anxiety and stress.
Yep. That was me so long ago
Yeah.
when I applied.
Wonderful.
Yikes.
That's a yikes and a half from me, dog. Like
Yeah. And also like when you're actually in the collective, because we use forums. The board where your comic was discussed is gone. You're not allowed to see that. You're never allowed to see that.
Oh God! Wait, so I don't even get to see when people call what people say about my work?
No, like if you
why?
I think it's a thing where they don't want to like generate any animosity between the people in the collective, just in case certain people might have not dug the comic and they might have not agreed with it being in the collective. There are comics that have been polarizing and have still gotten in. And, the creators are perfectly decent people. And you don't want to start off that relationship on that kind of foot. Because, like, you can be friends with a person and not enjoy their work. So, like...
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so, like, you don't want to start the relationship that this newcomer has with the collective knowing who's, talked shit about you or whatever,
Ooh, that's not.
I'm not gonna lie, that'd be kind of funny for me. But I'm me. Don't do what I do.
You can always go to like particular people and ask them. Like that's not discouraged. But
Hi, what did you say about my work? I heard you was talking shit.
No, what did you say? Like, what do you think?
No. You say, what did you say? You approach with confidence and anger. I heard you was talking shit. What did you say about my work, huh?
Yeah, probably not the best.
Oh,
not the best.
My approach is hilarious, and you know it.
and that is why, like, I'm the person who moderates this cast and not him.
Excessive.
Well, okay, we've covered quite a bit of ground. Like, I mean, I want to hear a little bit about your in-person like convention experiences. Like, I mean, whether it's mostly with Soul to Call or with other things that you do cons for. Like, so how often do you do con appearances? And what do you usually like?
I'm fairly new to conventions. I actually only started doing them last year. I've only gone to the local one in my area so far, and that's the only one I've really attended. So I'm pretty new to the con scene. Speaking of Spiderforest, they were actually the ones who gave me the push to start going to cons because I went with a couple members to the first convention I went to, and I shared a table with them, and that was my first adventure at the convention as a table. I had attended that convention before, just as a visitor. But that was my first time tabling, and it was primarily Soul to Call stuff for me. I printed a book, and it was the first half of the first chapter because the first chapter is massive, and I was redoing like a bunch of stuff in those pages because I was stupid and I did not add bleed or anything to those first pages. So yeah, that's a nightmare. It's an abomination of my own creation.
That's a mood and a half.
I recently oversaw like the print volume of Carrie's like comics, so I know
it's a mood and a half.
Carry on.
Like that's a pain that I'm still dealing with. So yeah, no, seriously, it's the reason I don't have like a proper first volume printed at all.
I don't even blame you. That is the hardest thing to overcome.
Like,
and you did all the prep for that on your own, right?
Yeah.
The whole set up of
yeah,
printing.
I did have a friend who proofread it for me when I was all done and like caught little things, but overall it was she edited it pretty much. She read through it, she found things, but I did everything by hand. It was all me mostly on that front. I had a second pair of eyes, but it was just two hands.
So you brought like a few copies of Soul to Call, like that.
Yeah.
That MacGyvered first volume, like or the first half of chapter 1. So you brought that there. What else do you bring, and like how do you?
I also brought a print version of one of my side comics, Kindred, which is the one with Eli and the ginger haired nurse girl. So I had that, and I had the Soul to Call volume. I also had, like, at that point, I had been in a couple anthologies. One was a Spiderforest one, and another one was by publisher, I suppose, indie publisher called Pomegranate Press, I believe.
Okay.
So I also had books from those anthologies. So it was mostly books. I had some prints that were also Soul to Call based, and I had some like stickers, but that was it. But the Soul to Call volume that I had actually sold really well. So yeah, and this convention that I went to a couple weeks ago, I actually almost sold out of Kindred. Like it was going really fast.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, and I've only got maybe 10 out of 40 volumes of the Soul to Call print left as well from the 2 cons I went to.
Yeah.
So
this is of course discounting the one you have for yourself, the one you just for you.
Yes.
We all have that. Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, it's always like a scary undertaking when you decide to plunk down some money and get the physical version out there.
Yeah. I feel like I got really lucky with the printing too, because there were hardly any issues with the first volume when the first proof came to me. It was actually really, really good. Like the colors were really good, and I'd had a few experiences with printing before, so that helped. But I know printing can be a nightmare. So fortunately for me, beyond the lack of bleed, I didn't end up in too much of a shithole in terms of.
Your comic had bleed, just not the right kind.
At the beginning, it had teeny tiny bleed, teeny tiny.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm talking about like your blood sweat tears kind of thing, but
Yeah.
Good job there, Kaz.
It's alright.
You're a comedic genius.
Thank you. I mean, it's the kind of thing I do to take the edge off.
Well, we're getting on in time, and we've talked about a lot of stuff today, and it's been wonderful. I don't want to end it like Family Matters, so I'm gonna. It's like we did a lot of special episodes today, kids. No.
We need to. I think we should ask Rommie overall what she feels is like the one thing that she'd give to people who to take away from.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna
take a bit of advice or whatever or thoughts.
Tell us, give the young unfortunate artists some advice.
Well, not to be cliche, but I don't know, follow your dreams. Write things that you enjoy, because don't follow trends. What Soul to Call ultimately, how it was birthed, was just a conglomeration of everything I loved. It's, found family, it's horror elements, it's post-apocalyptic aesthetic, and just take everything you love. Yeah, just some light stuff. And don't worry so much about conforming to the genre you're working in, even. Because, by all accounts of most post-apocalyptic media, my comic should be a lot more bleak than I write it. And I don't write it bleak. So, just don't be afraid to take the things you love and just follow that. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Just do your thing. Because if you love it, if you're making something that you adore, other people are going to be able to see that work and that love, and they're going to come and they're going to look at what you're creating.
It's infectious, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, that was hella emotional.
Oh.
I could feel the hairs on my arms standing up. Like, no, it's great. I think we sometimes need to be reminded about that.
The positive. We're too busy focusing on realism. Positivity is good. Mm-hmm. I'm actually serious now. That wasn't sarcasm. I always sound sarcastic, so I need to say that now.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's the basis of my whole comic.
So yeah, it's been great talking to you, Rommie. It's been great getting to know you and the work that you make, and your words of hope and joy will resonate through the 4 people who listen to the podcast.
That's enough. That's funny.
Thank you very much for taking your time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay. We should tell our listeners where they can catch Rommie and catch Rommie's work. Soul to Call is on www.soultocall.com. We will have it typed up as well in the description.
And check out some other works on Spiderforest. They brought us Rommie, so let's do something nice for them.
I personally recommend Cast Off and Broken. I personally recommend those 2.
Pulling out those ones that got through, the ones that you talked about earlier. And you can find lovely Rommie at what? Twitter? What's your Twitter?
Twitter
and Instagram.
I don't have a Facebook. So Twitter and Instagram are the same. It's Rommie Rin. So it's kind of like a mixture of my name and Rommie. It's ROMMIERIN.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the same.
Real talk right there.
That's the same for both.
You can find Kaz where you always find Kaz. Got a Schwitter. What's your Schwitter?
My Schwitter is @Catastrophe. We'll have it typed up in the description for easy reference.
You can never find me. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's been great. Thank you to our sponsor Moso. Thank you to our patrons Ian, Ayashi, Archangel, and Nick.
Let us know what you thought, and we'll take the feedback on, and then let us know as well who you'd like us to interview the next time, and we will do our best to make it happen.
Yeah. All right.